Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I will be discussing some options in how to make it a little bit easier to get that protein intake in. With a lot of my clients, I feel like they struggle a lot of the time with getting the protein in just because people get sick of, they think of your main sources like your meat and everything, and they don't want to be eating, say, chicken and broccoli 6 times a day. So there are definitely ways of getting it in. My first choice, usually I do try to go with whole foods. I always recommend whole foods when you can. So you have your meats, like your beef, your chicken, salmon, fish, all that kind of stuff is always awesome, turkey and everything like that. But if you are, say, trying to steer away from eating a lot of meat, which a lot of times I do try and do it, if I could have a diet where someone, say, made me all my meals, I probably would only have meat here and there. I do like to go meatless when I can. I used to always practice even the meatless Mondays. I might start incorporating that again just to kind of force myself to try and play around with some other meatless meals. But other than that, of course, you do have your protein powder. So protein powder, I do supplement with it quite a bit. I mix it in with my yogurt and my shakes. It's just nice, quick, easy supplement. I am going to show you some other options that I do use today as well. And one thing that I usually typically do have, I'm just going to run through them. I just kind of have a mess of stuff going on here, but I will show you. So egg whites. Egg whites, of course, are very high in protein as well as eggs. But if you're having the whole egg, you got to account for that fat in there as well. And so that's eggs. Let's just go over dairy stuff first. I don't typically eat a ton of dairy, especially if I'm in contest prep. Usually it is cut right out. But I do like to have it sometimes just as a quick snack, especially Greek yogurt. So Greek yogurt has quite a bit of protein in it. If you get the kind that I get is the 0% plain Greek yogurt. And so 3/4 of a cup is considered a serving, and that's actually 17 grams of protein. So that alone would really all I would need for a meal. But because I don't really like plain Greek yogurt, I do add, say, half a scoop of protein powder in that. Or if I have it on its own, I will use my stevia drops just to sweeten it because it's not the best tasting. So we got cottage cheese. I don't really eat this, but if you do like cottage cheese, you can always mix it with jam. It has quite a bit of protein as well. So it has 15 grams for half a cup. That's quite a bit. So most of the time if someone's going to be snacking on it, they're not just going to have half a cup. Maybe they'd have a cup. So that would be 30 grams of protein in this guy. But again, I don't really, sometimes I'll add this to my protein pancakes, but I don't really eat that very often. So that's mostly it for the dairy. One of my go-tos that I find super easy and quick, especially in prep when I'm, say, running out the door and I just want to have a piece of toast, I will have this guy here. It is your Power Slice. You can get these at Costco. You can order them online. You do have to keep them in the freezer because they don't last very long. So I usually keep it in the freezer and I'll pull it out as I need it. But in just one slice is 15 grams, super low in carbs. So say you're on a low carb, high protein, whatnot diet. You've got 4 grams of carbs, 15 grams of protein, and then there's also a little bit of fiber in there, and 110 calories. So usually if I am having this, I will put one slice in the toaster. I will put some coconut oil on top and then use my everything bagel spice. Super good. So that's that. Another Costco guy that I get is sometimes I will make these guys up. This brand is the Flourish Protein Pancake Mix. They used to have the Kodiak. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Kodiak pancake mix. That was also high in protein as well. Now this guy is going to have some carbs, so it makes, for a serving, makes 3 pancakes, and that's 33 grams of carbs and 23 grams of protein. So that's super quick and easy. A lot of times I used to make this up, and you just are mixing this with water, I believe. You can do water or milk or whatever. But I would mix it with water, and I would use my waffle maker, make up the waffles ahead of time. put them in individual bags, pop them in the freezer, and then I would just grab one each day while I was at work, put it in the toaster, and away I go. So that's that guy. Let's just stick with the Costco stuff. Costco, you can get this big bag of quinoa. Quinoa has 6 grams of protein for a 1/4 cup dry. So that's pretty good. People don't usually think about quinoa as having protein. They would probably more think of this as a carb. It is a carb, but you do have a bit of protein in there as well. So that's another option. And another guy, if you are looking for a plant-based protein snack here or a meal, I'm not sure if you've heard of this guy. It's called Longev. It's like these little crumbles. I actually discovered this one year when I was competing in Ohio. This guy is for a serving is actually, so 1 serving per container. So that's 1.5 cups. So I think it's like, I'm not sure how much that is of this, but 40 grams of protein in these little guys in a serving. So what they were doing at the show was they were actually mixing these little crumbles up in like with sauce and everything, and they were saying you could use it for like sloppy joes or even just like as like kind of like a dip kind of thing. I've used it on top of my salads before, and all you're doing, it's super easy to make these guys. You're just basically adding a hot water to them. So I believe you can order those on Amazon now. For those that eat beans, so beans, like you have your lentils are usually high in protein. There's different beans that are a little bit higher than other ones. If you are looking for more protein in beans, though, lupini beans are going to be your best bet. You can get them in a bag. I think you can get them in cans. Of course, these guys are going to have your carbs in them as well. Carbs are not always a bad thing, though. Sometimes it's good to have your carbs and just to have your meal super easy to make so that it's making it ahead of time, and then you have those carbs and also fat, protein all in one meal, right? So you could easily make some beans up and mix in some veggies and whatnot, maybe some oil, and there you go. But this guy is 16 grams per 1/4 cup of these lupini beans. So very high. I think these are probably the beans that are the highest. And then next to that might be lentils, chickpeas kind of thing. So that's that. And also while we're talking about carbs, you can order, I've already opened this bag here. It doesn't taste exactly like your normal spaghetti pasta, but you can get this guy. It's from lowcarbcanada.com. Zero Zoodles. So it's an organic black bean spaghetti. So again, these are basically noodles made out of beans, black beans. And in here we've got 21 grams per 1/4 of a package. That's a serving, so 21 grams. So a lot of times when we're thinking about all these things like pasta and beans and all that stuff, I don't know, I never used to think about protein first, but there definitely are protein in a lot of these things as well. So that's that. One more thing here. This is kind of been a bit of a game changer for me. This is something that you would never think about doing. I never thought about doing, but say if you want to cook your rice, what do you usually cook your rice in? Water, right? But if you want to make it with protein in there as well, I have a rice maker. I love it. If you guys don't have a rice maker and you eat rice on a regular basis, I highly recommend you get one. It's super easy. All you do is add the water, add the rice, press the button, and boom. I never used to make it because I would always have it boil over the stove and I just could not be bothered. So rice makers, super convenient. But where I was going with this was when you're making your rice, instead of using water, you can actually use bone broth. Bone broth has so uses instead of the water. The rice will absorb it. Then you have your carbs, your protein. You can add some veg in there, so you could just have like a kind of like a stir fry, whatnot, without the meat. You could do that. Because this is crazy. So 1 cup of bone broth is 40 calories. And where's the protein on here? 9 grams of protein. So that's quite a bit. So if you had 2 cups, mind you, if you want your higher protein, you could always have this with your rice and maybe add a little bit of chicken or whatever. You wouldn't have to add as much because you already have it in this. Sometimes I've done some fasting, and technically I guess it's not fasting if I'm drinking bone broth because that would be breaking that fast. But I find just to get me through it, I will sip on bone broth just because it's giving me that sodium plus the protein, just enough to keep me going. But say if you're not a big eater, like some people I don't know what it is, they're a little crazy, obviously not wanting to eat. Like who doesn't want to eat, right? I know I do. But anyways, I will tell them, okay, just to get those calories in and get some kind of protein in there, just sip on this, especially in winter time, right? It's actually not that bad. So that's another thing right there is your bone broth. So I've covered your dairy, your carbs. So there's a lot of different things you can do. You just kind of have to think outside the box. So you've got, also you always have your meat and your protein powder. Those are things I definitely utilize. But these are just a few things that you can incorporate into that diet if you're trying to hit higher protein levels. I hope this was helpful for you today. If you did, please make sure you like this video and hit that subscribe button so you do not miss any future tips with me. Thanks guys. Bye.